playoffs, and today taking on the disappointed Tampa Bay Buccaneers here at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. And welcome, everyone, to the Georgia Dome, and Happy New Year, everyone. Dick Stockton, along with John Lynch, and we do not know who the Falcons will be playing next week in the first round of the playoffs, but one thing we do know, John, is that they want to eliminate the bad taste in their mouth suffered in their defeat against the Saints last Monday.
Well, they were embarrassed and they were humiliated versus the New Orleans Saints, and Mike Smith has challenged his team. I want to control the line of scrimmage. Let's get this bad taste out of our mouth. The way you do it, you control the line of scrimmage, you get our running game, get Michael Turner going on offense. On defense, that's got to come in the form of the pass rush. That's been inconsistent all year. He wants that done here today.
A woeful season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're riding a 9-game losing streak, and John, frankly, there's no way to sugarcoat around it.
Well, it's been a terribly disappointing team. This was a team that many experts, including myself, felt was a playoff team. They started 4-2. It all looked good. It looked very promising. They've gone downhill, lost 9 straight. I thought Josh Freeman hit it on the head when he talked about the motivation for this game. This is the only game that's guaranteed to any of us. I'd be very disappointed if they didn't play well today, as would Josh Freeman.
All right, that's a setup for Week 17, and right now let's send it down on the field to the third member of our team, Jamie Maggio.
Thanks, Dick. Well, there will be no scoreboard watching for the Atlanta Falcons. I spoke to Tony Gonzalez before the game. He said Mike Smith's message to his team was loud and clear. Take care of this game and build some momentum moving into the playoffs. Well, Tony said himself, you know, we didn't play good football last week. That's something we need to get back to doing. And if we want to get rid of the bad taste from that last week loss to the Saints, the perfect way to do it is to get a win today. Dick, John, back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, Jamie. And scores of significance. The Green Bay Packers have moved in front of the Lions 38-34. They have about 7.5 minutes to go in the fourth. If the Lions lose and the Falcons win, they would be the 5th seed. And they would play at the Giants or the Dallas winner. Otherwise, if the Lions prove victorious, then the Falcons would have to go on the road and face those Saints again, or perhaps the 49ers, because the Rams are challenging them in the fourth quarter of that game. And the kick into the end zone for the touchback. The Falcons getting the ball first. And we're set to go. Matt Ryan, who is the second quarterback in team history for over 4,000 yards. But look at his record at home, 25-4 here at the Dome, and a perfect record here against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
And Dick, that may be the only huddle we see throughout most of the day. Expect a lot of no huddle. Matt Ryan loves it. Mike Smith loves it. Expect to see it a bunch today.
From the 20-yard line, the first play from scrimmage of the game, and no surprise, a handoff to Michael Turner, up the middle, first down, and still going. Practically gets to midfield, 27 yards, with Rondé Barber making the tackle.
And what did we say? Mike Smith challenged his offensive line, controlled the line of scrimmage, a big hole for Michael Turner to run through, and he does what he does. He runs through tackles, big yards for the Atlanta Falcons on the first play of the game.
Turner coming into the game 6th in the NFL in rushing, and he's not had a 100-yard game since week 11. First down. Again, it's Turner, but this time he is knocked back for a loss of 1 yard. Frank Okam making this tackle for the Atlanta Falcons offense, and we've seen Turner already. And Tony Gonzalez, the only Pro Bowl player for Atlanta, and he has an extended contract, so he'll be around.
And this offensive line, we talked about it. Mike Smith wants them to control the line of scrimmage. That means play physically. That's what they do best. And Tony Gonzalez, you talked about that new contract, well-deserved. Playing just like he did in his prime. Outstanding in his 15th year.
They spread it out with 4 wide receivers on 2nd and 11, and Ryan going underneath, but Turner drops the ball, and it will be 3rd down and 11. The Tampa Bay Bucs defense, they have allowed 30 points a game. Okam and Miller are starting at defensive tackle today.
This linebacking crew, Mason Foster in the middle, they have a lot of promise for him, but this group has been a big disappointment, have not played well this entire season. And the great Rondé Barber, in his 15th year, playing at an incredibly high level.
And setting a team record, 225th game, breaking Derek Brooks' record in the Tampa Bay uniform. 3rd down and 11. And the pass is caught by Roddy White. And Roddy White gets to the 33 of Tampa Bay. Elbert Mack makes the play, and the throw was over the head of Tanar Jackson here.
And really good pressure on Matt Ryan, kind of a wounded duck out there to Roddy White, but it got there, and Roddy White typically plays well versus these Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Had 9 catches for 140 yards in week 3 when the Buccaneers defeated the Falcons.
And a 23-yard gain, and the Falcons threatening with a 1st down on the 32. And here is Jason Snelling, and Snelling, a tough runner, gets good yardage on 1st down, 5 yards on that play. We want to welcome those of you joining us who have watched the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Washington Redskins, and an impressive finish for the Eagles, beating the Redskins 34-10. 2nd down and 5. Jamie Maggio joining yours truly, Dick Stockton, along with John Lynch. 2nd down and 5. Julio Jones lines up at the top of the screen. The handoff to Michael Turner. And Turner is knocked back by Daquan Bowers for no gain. Turner started the game with an impressive 27-yard run up the middle on the first play.
He did. And if you're looking for positives for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, they may have got the steal to the draft with Daquan Bowers. He was at one point talked about as being the #1 player chosen in the NFL draft. Knee injuries and a history of knee injuries led people to pass upon him, but he's really come on strong, and they're very excited about his future.
3rd down and 6. Gonzalez lines up at the top with Roddy White looking that way, and the pass is caught by Gonzalez, and he'll get the 1st down to the 20. Barber on the tackle, getting 8 yards. Tony Gonzalez gets free.
Well, you look at Tony Gonzalez working against Rondé Barber outside. 2 guys in their 15th year. And that's what Tony Gonzalez does. Not a lot of separation, but those long arms. Using that body like a basketball player as he was at the University of California, Berkeley. Using that big body, those long arms. Tony Gonzalez, an excellent player. As good as ever in his 15th year.
And there he is. Only Jerry Rice, the incomparable one, stands ahead of him as the all-time leading receiver in the game. 1st down and 10 from the 20. Here's Matt Ryan, goes across to Snelling, and Snelling is hit immediately by 3 Buccaneers, led by Rondé Barber, who's been on several tackles on this first series, John.
This is an area for the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan, Mike Smith, they were all very disappointed. They were 0 for 3 in the red zone versus the New Orleans Saints. You don't beat teams like the New Orleans Saints when you're kicking field goals. You got to put touchdowns on the board. That's a big emphasis for this team here today.
Mike Smith in his 4th year, and has taken the Falcons to the playoffs in 3 of his 4 years, and the first time they've gone back-to-back. But last week's loss to the Saints was the worst defeat, 29-point loss to New Orleans. This is the 9th play of the drive, and the handoff to Turner. And Turner gets good yards. About a yard and a half short of the 1st down. Sean Jones, the strong safety, comes up for the Bucs.
One thing we're seeing early, Dick, 3-4 games ago, they lost Obi Mahaley, their fullback, to an injury. Jason Snelling is now playing fullback. Typically, we see him as a halfback. Michael Turner asked for a fullback in front of him. Jason Snelling is filling that role. Did a nice job right there on that play.
And so the Tampa Bay victory in week 3, 16-13, 3rd down and 1. Turner, he has the 1st down as he gets it inside the 10. Geno Hayes, and a gain of about a yard and a half.
You think back to week 3, one of the things that's changed for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, in that game they held Michael Turner to 20 yards on 11 rushes, 30 yards overall. This is now a rush defense that's 31st, second to last in the NFL. Big problem if you can't stop the run.
Good ball control. 1st and goal for the Falcons on the first series. Here's Michael Turner, and Turner is stopped short of the goal line, just short by Sean Jones. He gets 8 yards, and the Falcons getting ready to score on what has been an impressive drive. This has been their MO this year.
Well, if you want to check things off the list, Mike Smith said he wanted physical football up front. These are gaping holes that Michael Turner's running through. And when you give that guy gaping holes, he's going to put some pain on some people. Let's see Michael Turner.
And the handoff to Jacquez Rogers, who goes in for the touchdown. So they go to the rookie. Rogers from Oregon State, who gets the 1-yard touchdown to give the Falcons the lead. 12 plays for the Falcons on the first series of the game.
And typically what you ask for, it gets done. What you emphasize in this league gets done. They asked for physical play up front. They got it, and they're getting physical running from their running backs. Jacquez Rogers takes it in for the touchdown.
And his first touchdown of the season comes in the 17th week of the year. Here's Matt Bryant with the extra point, and the Falcons take a 7-0 lead. And an impressive scoring drive of 80 yards, 12 plays. And you mentioned the multiple running backs that the Falcons employed, John. Turner gaining 39 yards in the scoring drive. And we want to welcome those who saw the 49ers hold off the Rams 34-27 to clinch the number 2 seed in the NFC playoffs. So the New Orleans Saints will be number 3. And the Falcons are in a situation here hoping that the Green Bay goes on and beats the Detroit Lions. But this is what we know now. The 49ers clinching a first-round bye, and they'll be the 2nd seed. The Saints will be the number 3 seed and will host either these Falcons or the Lions. And the New England Patriots are the number 1 seed. They have clinched home field throughout the AFC playoffs by virtue of their 49-21 win against Buffalo.
Dick, we were there week 1 in San Francisco, and who would have thunk it? Jim Harbaugh, what an outstanding job he's done with those San Francisco 49ers. How big it is to have a bye and then 1 game at least at home, and then you're in the championship game. I've been there before. Outstanding job by the San Francisco 49ers.
Preston Parker getting ready to return the kick from Matt Bosher. And backing up, and it's kicked practically out of the end zone. So you were talking about the 49ers. No one expected this year. The first playoff appearance since 2002. They are the 2nd seed, so they will be home and get a bye. And their first round bye wrapped up, their first since 1997. Now Josh Freeman. Freeman 1-4 here in Atlanta. He was the quarterback that beat the Falcons, but it has been a sharp decline this season for Freeman, with 14 touchdowns and 19 interceptions. Starting from the 20 are the Buccaneers. LeGarrette Blount, who was taken out of the game after he fumbled the first play last week and was benched the rest of the way. Here's the rest of the offense. And Desmond Briscoe is starting in place of Aurelius Ben, making his 2nd start this year at wide receiver.
Mike Williams has been a disappointment this year. After 11 touchdowns in his rookie year, down to 3. You see Davin Joseph, the right guard, has played outstanding. He made the Pro Bowl. Well-deserved honor for him.
2nd down and 8. Blount has averaged 30 yards a game in his last 4. And on the fake end around, Blount carries up the middle and manages to get to the 24, a 2-yard pickup. And that will bring up 3rd down. The Atlanta Falcons defense, and they're looking for the pass rush. Abraham leads them in that department. And Stephen Nicholas unable to play, so Spencer Atkins makes his first NFL start at strong side backer.
It's Dominique Franks, typically the nickel back, who's in for Brent Grimes, who they're resting, trying to get healthy for the playoff run.
3rd down and 6 for the Bucs. Pressure from the outside, and Freeman will go down. Troy Bierman. Falcons looking for that kind of pass rush when they start the 2nd season next week at a loss of 9.
Watch Corey Breerman. He's going to come on a little game inside. He flat out beats James Lee, the backup right tackle. And Mike Smith's got to feel pretty good. He asked for, let's get the running game going on offense. Let's get the pass rush going. 2 things checked off the list thus far in the first drives for the Falcons.
You mentioned Lee is starting in place of Jeremy Trueblood at right tackle. So Michael Kanan, the ex-Falcon, punting for Tampa Bay at the 5-yard line. And Eric Weems comes up and will try to run it from the 39. And good field position for the Falcons as they get it to the 46. Time for a game break, and let's join Kurt Menefee. Kurt.
Falcons hoping the Lions lose so they can move up that number 5 seed, but the Lions score a late touchdown. Tony Scheffler, 12-yard reception. They lead at 41-38, 2.5 minutes to go in Green Bay. Dick and John, Stafford 5 touchdowns, 477 passing. Matt Flynn, 407 passing and 5 TDs as well.
What a shootout in Green Bay.
Well, maybe Aaron Rodgers isn't that good. Anybody can do it, right?
Somewhere, someone is going to say that, John. You're kidding.
I am kidding, believe me.
No, I know, but someone may not be. First down and 10 for the Falcons on their 47. With good field position, flushed out of the pocket is Matt Ryan. And Ryan tried to get it to Jones. And if the Lions hold on and win, will be their first victory at Lambeau Field since 1991. And we talked about the 49ers and what they achieved. How about the Lions as well?
A great job by Martin Mayhew, their general manager, their head coach Jim Schwartz, and Matthew Stafford. What a season he has had, a shootout up there in Lambeau.
Here at the Georgia Dome, second down and 10. Falcons lead the Bucs 7-0 from the Atlanta 47. And the quick pass to Jones. And Jones is upended by E.J. Biggers after picking up 6, but a flag is back down at the line of scrimmage.
Passer, number 71, 15 yards, touchdown.
And Michael Bennett with a personal foul, 15-yard penalty.
Michael Bennett's really played well for these Buccaneers. The Buccaneers bring pressure. One guy's free. Matt Ryan throws hot off him. And when you get those helmets to the head forcibly, they're going to call that every time. Good call by Scott Green.
Whether it's an arm or a forearm, you go to the helmet, you know you're going to be in trouble.
Absolutely.
Penalty-wise. So now a first down after the penalty to the 32. Under 6 minutes to go in the first quarter. Handoff is to Jacquizz Rodgers, who scored the touchdown. And he is taken down for a loss of 1.5 yards by Bowers. Interesting, John, last year the Falcons had a 13-3 record. Had the bye, they were home, and the Green Bay Packers came in and demolished them en route to a Packers Super Bowl.
Well, and what's interesting as they're in their no-huddle attack is that they're using the Green Bay Packers as really inspiration. They're likely going to be a 6 seed. And they're using the Green Bay Packers, who beat them, as inspiration on what they can do. They're prospects for success in these playoffs.
Second and 12. Michael Turner. Another first down. Turner gets it down to the 21. Good block by Jason Snelling. You were talking about his role as the fullback now.
Well, this is what Michael Turner likes. He likes a lead fullback, and here's why. You look at this. He goes man-to-man on Mason Foster. That hole parts big time, and I'm telling you, get this guy, this big boy running, Michael Turner. He's going to do some damage. This is all good. Good signs for the Atlanta Falcons. What they emphasized all week is getting done early. Great job of executing their game plan.
That was a 13-yard gain and 52 yards all told. And a first down, double tight end for the Falcons. And off the hands of Michael Palmer, out of bounds, bringing up second down.
And in the red zone, I really feel like this should be a strength for the Atlanta Falcons. And you know, one thing I feel is you shouldn't have Julio Jones on the bench here. I mean, sometimes you got to rest your players, but this guy, I think, has developed into a player who's a game changer. I think he could be the wild card for this team in the playoffs. But when you have Julio Jones on the field, all of a sudden you can't double Tony Gonzalez. You can't double Roddy White.
You want to be in attack mode there.
Absolutely.
Second down and 10. Turner shakes off one prospective tackler, and Rondé Barber manages to get a piece of him, but not before a 4-yard gain to the 17. And there is Julio Jones coming back into the game. They paid dearly for him to be the big breakout wide receiver to go deep for this offense.
And I think it was worth every draft pick, every penny, however you want to say it. Look at his last 3 games. He's getting healthy. He's getting familiar with the offense. They're able to move him around. We see him in the slot right now. That wasn't happening early. This guy's a difference maker. A great addition for the Atlanta Falcons.
And Rondé Barber watching him on 3rd down and 6 for Matt Ryan. Almost got hit from behind, but there's Jones. Jones still on his feet. Touchdown, Falcon. "17 yards.
Matt Ryan said anytime we can get the ball on the run to Julio Jones, that's where he's at his best. You see the strength, you see the speed. 3 guys, he runs right through their tackles, in for a touchdown from the slot on the run. This guy's an excellent football player, and they're very excited about his future. I think they should be excited about his present,
right,
because he's a stud right now.
7th touchdown catch of the year for Jones. Matt Bryant adds the extra point, and with 3.5 to go in the first quarter, the Falcons jump ahead of the Buccaneers 14-0. Julio Jones, 5th touchdown in the last 4 games. And as we go back to school to really learn something about football from you, John, Julio Jones and where he is out on the field, so key to this Falcon team.
Well, you look at him, they move him around now, and look at these strides. He's reminiscent of Calvin Johnson to me, the way he eats up ground with these strides. You put him in the slot now versus the New Orleans Saints. His big body, you can back shoulder him. Matt Ryan, that kind of accurate quarterback. And this looks very familiar. It looks like the play they just scored on. Little drag route, shallow cross across the middle, and you use that size, you use that speed. This guy's a weapon. As I said, I think he might be the difference in the playoffs. If they can get him hot, you couple that with Roddy White, you couple that with Tony Gonzalez and Michael Turner, and here it was. That looked very similar to that play in Jacksonville. Big target, great with the ball after the catch. Big-time player, Julio Jones.
And 3 Buccaneer defenders could not bring him down. And he has an outside shot with a huge game today of going over 1,000 yards. And there is Bennett showing the frustration that has been surrounding the Buccaneers for the last 9 games and this game as well. Preston Parker coming out of the end zone. And Parker returns it to about the 17-yard line. Bierman making the tackle on special teams, a 19-yard return. So the Atlanta Falcons, talk about getting the bad taste out of the mouth. So far they're doing it.
They use some good mouthwash because they're playing well. And you talk about execution. This is execution. Now, they're doing it at the expense of a defense that has struggled mightily. This is a Tampa Bay defense, an organization that's proud of the defense they've played over the years. They may set a record here today if they allow 25 points for the all-time points allowed. Not a good record to be setting for the Buccaneers.
You played for a team that was known for its defense in Tampa Bay. Freeman on 1st down and going deep, and it's picked off. Dominique Franks starting in place of Brent Grimes on the pass intended for Desmond Briscoe, and the Falcons again are in business.
Now, Josh Freeman, we talked about him. When we talked with him, yesterday, he talked about, I got to eliminate the turnovers. That's been the difference this year. I've been pressing, call it whatever. That can't happen. I believe Josh Freeman's an elite quarterback, but to be an elite quarterback, you can't make plays like that. There's been too many of them on this season.
2nd interception for Franks, and even Freeman told us as he walks with Greg Olson, the offensive coordinator, how much people are trying to do things too much and take it upon themselves. Remember, they're still the youngest team in the league. First down for the Falcons on the Bucs 48. They go play action, and they go deep. Jones, and Jones winds up with it. He gets in. a show Julio Jones is putting on for these fans early in this game as the Falcons take a 20-0 lead, 48 yards on this play.
Well, Dick, I asked Matt Ryan the other day, this guy's come on so much. Are you getting to the point, like Calvin Johnson, where it doesn't matter if there's two guys, you're just going to throw them up and let them go make a play? And he said, yes, I'm getting to that point, and this will only earn trust from Matt Ryan even more so. Julio Jones brings in the ball, controls it. Now he's controlled it. No one's touched him. He gets up. Heady play to get up and run into the end zone. Excellent football play by the Atlanta Falcons.
And, of course, all touchdowns, as you know, have to be confirmed, and they will take a look at this one as well. Scott Green, the referee, taking a look at the replay.
Dick, the reason I say Julio Jones worth every penny, we're seeing it. But you watch the Atlanta Falcons in the 13-3 year. Great execution, but you always felt like they had to be perfect to be successful. They were 10-play drives. They were 5-minute drives, and you needed perfect execution. This guy makes it such that you don't need to be perfect because you just throw the ball up and he goes and makes a play. He's a difference maker, as I keep saying, and I think just a wonderful addition for this team.
Last year, en route to their 13-3 record, the Falcons would have long drive, ball control drives. They did not commit many penalties. One of the best in the league at not committing penalties. But once you turn the ball over a little or commit penalties, a different story.
After hearing the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. Touchdown.
It's a 48-yard touchdown. 2 touchdowns on the last 2 Falcons plays. And with 1:10 left, we understand that the Packers have taken the lead over the Lions. And if you want to hear a roar from this crowd here at the Georgia Dome, if the Lions don't come back, the Falcons will be the number 5 seed. Matt Bryant with the extra point, making it 21-0. And right now, for a game break on that play with the Packers taking the lead, let's go to Kurt Menefee.
Here's how it happened. Matt Flynn hooking up with Jermichael Finley. 4-yard score puts Green Bay in front of the Lions. They have now gotten the extra point. It's 45-41, 1:10 left. Dick and John, Matt Flynn playing in place of Aaron Rodgers today. 480 yards and 6 touchdown passes, both Green Bay franchise records.
What an achievement, and Flynn has to be so proud of what he has done as a backup to Rodgers, as Rodgers was as a backup to Brett Favre for so many years.
Absolutely, and with those weapons, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has had one of the best seasons an NFL quarterback has ever had, if not the best. But this shows you how many weapons they have. You see Jermichael Finley, you see Jordy Nelson, you see Greg Jennings. That team is loaded, and that's why you got to like what you're seeing from the Falcons, the ability to attack, to get yards in chunks, to get big plays. That's what you need to hang with the big boys.
480 yards for Flynn today. And Josh Freeman and the Buccaneers quickly down 21-0 as Franks' interception turned into a score for the Falcons. The Green Bay Packers are the number 1 seed. First time that they've had 14 wins in team history and could wind up with 15, scoring a team record. Their only loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, which was a shocker when that happened. And Flynn, not only with the 480 yards, but 6 touchdowns on the day. Raheem Morris. And, of course, the stories coming out of Tampa Bay is the question as to whether Morris will be retained as the head coach of the Bucs. First down, LeGarrette Blount. And he is pushed back and will lose about a yard. Spencer Atkins, the 3rd-year player who was inactive in the 5 games last year.
You talk about those turnovers and why they hurt you so bad, and why you talk about complementary football, your offense complementing your defense and vice versa. When you turn the ball over, the other team's going to score. And this is a defense that has struggled mightily, but due in large part to the offense giving the ball away so much.
-17 in turnover ratios in that 9-game losing streak. Second down and 11. Freeman going underneath for the shallow cross to Parker. And Parker is tackled by Curtis Lofton after a gain of 7 yards. One injury to report for the Falcons. Mike Cox, their starting fullback, has a hand injury. Snelling has performed fullback duties thus far. Meanwhile, Falcons on defense, and it'll be a 3rd down and 4 for the Bucs. Freeman finds his tight end Kellen Winslow, and Winslow with the first down, getting 4 yards, the first down of the game for Tampa Bay.
You're seeing so many signs of a good football team right now. They gave up the first down, but that's great open field tackling. They may catch some balls, but you better tackle them right there. And again, moving forward in the playoffs, when you look at the New Orleans Saints, when you look at the Green Bay Packers, they do most of their damage after the catch. With the yards after the catch, you've got to tackle well. The Falcons are doing it, as they are with everything, doing well today.
Under a minute to go in the first, and here is Josh Johnson, who is a wild card at quarterback every now and then for the Buccaneers, and he carries off the right side, gets 6 yards before William Moore, Falcon safety, brings him down. The Green Bay Packers have intercepted Matthew Stafford. 25 seconds left in that game, and on their way for a 15-1 finish, and giving the Falcons the 5 seed if they go on and win this game. 2nd down and 4. Freeman has it stripped away. John Abraham takes the ball away, and another turnover gives the Falcons the ball in bump territory.
Well, what a play by John Abraham. A whiff by James Lee, but don't just go sack the quarterback. Take the ball away. You don't see that much. John Abraham just strips it from Josh Freeman, lands right in his belly. Great play by John Abraham, and they better start giving James Lee some help, because he's not getting it done at the right tackle position.
And this has been the story.
72 reporting eligible.
No close calls for the Buccaneers this year. They have lost by an average score of 34-17 in those 9 losses, and a big play there for Abraham. 1st and 10 for the Falcons from the 30-yard line of Tampa Bay. Michael Turner, who's had a big first quarter, continues his great play inside the 20-yard line, and another first down to the 18 before E.J. Biggers brings him down, and that will be the last play of the quarter. A 14-yard run by Turner, who gets 70 yards in the first quarter. The Falcons 21-0 and driving for more.
The NFL on Fox.
The Packers beat the Lions 45-41, and Mike Smith was just informed of that fact, and if the Falcons go on and win, they will be the number 5 seed and face the winner of the Giants-Cowboys. They're playing that tonight on the road. This was moments ago, and this was the scenario that the Falcons wanted. An impressive early start against Tampa Bay. They don't want to put this game in doubt and have the Lions lose. And that's exactly what's happened thus far, John. Dick Stockton, John Lynch, Jamie Maggio as we start the second quarter. And the Falcons on the 16 of the Bucs and leading 21-0.
And I got to tell you, if you're the Falcons, you keep the pedal to the metal. This is good mojo going into the playoffs. You keep playing till your coaches take you out. And if you're a coach, you keep playing aggressively. You keep calling. You go on the attack mode.
First down, Michael Turner, and he gets in 15. And right now for a game break, Kurt Menefee will tell you how the Packers beat the Lions this afternoon.
Yeah, the door's open for the Falcons with this. Matthew Stafford trying to lead the comeback. Not on this one, overthrows everybody. Sam Shields picks it off, and that's the game, folks. Green Bay wins it 45-41. The Lions finished 10-6, so as you know, with a victory, the Falcons can overtake them for the number 5 seed. Dick and John?
All right, thank you very much, Kurt. Excitement in week 17. Meanwhile, 2nd down and 7 on the 13. Again, they give it to Turner, and Turner is going to get a first down to the 5. Looked like he bobbled it when he was first given the ball as Jackson and Ocam combined to bring him down 1st and goal.
Well, this is a combination of strong running and bad tackling. And bad tackling is what gets you 9 straight losses. But that's also that kind of strong running. You see him run right through the tackle, the whiff of Quincy Black. That's kind of running. That is going to bode well come playoff time. They got to go to Lambeau. They got to go out to San Francisco and maybe have some inclement weather. That's why it's so important to have that running game going.
And they're moving. After the shift is Michael Turner. 1st and goal. And here's Turner. And Turner gets about a yard with Michael Bennett making the tackle. And I don't care what you say, the Atlanta Falcons, who wanted another shot at the New Orleans Saints, would rather play the winner of the Giants and Cowboys. Wouldn't you think? Wouldn't you think?
Yeah, you want the Saints, but maybe not next week. You know, let's go take the Cowboys or the Giants, who have had their problems this year as well. Those Saints, they're beasts right now. They're playing as well as anybody in this league.
Sam Baker, number 72, is an extra offensive lineman now for Atlanta. It'll be 2nd and goal, and here's Turner again, driving to the goal line, and again stopped short by a yard. Quincy Black, the strong side backer, as Turner picks up 3 yards and now has gained 85 yards already in this first half.
Being out at practice for the Falcons this week, the message every coach, every player was saying, the theme of the week was finish, finish, finish. And that's what you see on each and every play. These Falcons players playing hard to finish it. They need to finish this drive right here with the touchdown.
And by the way, Mike Cox, who went out with a hand injury, is back in there now for Atlanta. 3rd down and goal. Here is Turner. And Turner, no signal given. And again, the Buccaneers stop him from going over the goal line.
Good defense by the Buccaneers. Strong up front. Albert Hainsworth. See if that did indeed get in. I think he is just short. If I'm the Falcons, I bury this team. You got a team with a 9-game losing streak. Mike Smith's going to take a timeout and talk about it with his coaching staff.
And my question for you, John, would be, why wouldn't they give the ball to Turner again?
Absolutely.
We'll take a timeout. 21-0. Falcons lead early in the 2nd.
Today's game is sponsored by Triple Hops Brewed Miller Lite. Taste greatness. By McDonald's. I'm loving it. And by Verizon, your 4G LTE smartphone destination.
Back here at the Georgia Dome, it'll be 4th and goal from well inside the 1 after an Atlanta timeout. Once again, Sam Baker is an extra offensive lineman. And they give it to Turner. Touchdown. Good block by Mike Cox, the fullback, who came out for a while. And Mike Smith's team, knowing they need the victory to nail down the number 5 seed, now are an extra point away from a 4-touchdown advantage.
Well, you see a theme. The lead fullback, Michael Turner, asked for it. He's getting it. And I don't care who you are. He's a tough guy to tackle one-on-one at the 1-inch line. Michael Turner's getting in that end zone.
$86 yards for Turner. And here's Matt Bryant. $28-0. Falcons lead here at the Georgia Dome, and it all started with that terrific play on the strip by John Abraham, knocking the ball away. They had to go 30 yards, so 14 points scored by the Falcons off of 2 Buccaneer turnovers. Just gets worse for the Buccaneers. Now have allowed the most points in franchise history, 477, and we're only early in the second quarter here. And my partner, who was giving up the active play a long time ago, but was a staunch defender for many proud teams for the Buccaneers, as Preston Parker brings it out to the 20-yard line. Well, the Bucs coming out again in a 28-0 deficit.
Today's game is sponsored by Chevrolet and their award-winning cars, trucks, and crossovers.
So, John, to see those numbers defensively for the Bucs, huh?
Well, it's disappointing, you know, because I was here in the early 90s, in Tampa in the early 90s. There were some bad football teams. So to set that record for a proud team defensively, that goes to every level. That goes to coaching, that goes to players, that goes to execution, that goes to effort. Not good by the Buccaneers in 2011.
Now the Bucs on offense, first down from the 20. LeGarrette Blount. And Blount picks up 3. You mentioned Josh Freeman and the contrast from last year. And a lot of people around football not at all giving up on his potential.
No, you can't. I mean, this guy, to me, it's a no-brainer. This is a franchise quarterback. I think he can be an elite quarterback. And that's what makes you nervous. The fact that you see him trending backward, and not necessarily, sometimes quarterbacks have a bad year, but the way it's happened, the turnovers, you just don't see the progress that you should. This guy's a stud at the quarterback position. Needs to start playing like it.
Second down and 6. Gets rid of it as he gets hit. And it sails into the Atlanta bench. And Abraham and Corey Peters both put on the rush. And so here you see last year, 10-6. A lot of people touting this team this year, and there you circled the big problem.
That's the problem. And you know, when you talk to Josh, it says, I tried to do too much. You try to push the envelope a little because you've had some success, and you try to take the next step. But I think it also goes to a much bigger problem. You got to surround them with better players. When you watch the teams they're playing against, the Saints, the Falcons, there's weapons all over the field. They don't have those weapons.
Third down and 6 in a very tough division. Carolina coming up strong. Pressure and the pass up the middle, and it's intercepted by Curtis Lofton. Lofton will run it in. For the Falcons, this may get as high as it gets. For the Buccaneers, this may get as low as it gets.
There's Curtis Lofton, and this is where Josh Freeman sometimes struggles. When a guy drops out of a fake blitz. The 2 Buccaneers ran right into each other. Kellen Winslow, Craig Lumpkin. Sometimes you can't blame everything on the quarterback. When you've got 2 teammates running right into each other, that's not Josh Freeman's fault. Someone was supposed to be there, and it wasn't Curtis Lofton.
21 interceptions thrown by Freeman. And for Lofton, that is his 2nd interception. Matt Bryant, again the extra point. 35-0, the Falcons. Freeman with his 2nd interception. 3 turnovers, 21 of those 35 points off of those turnovers.
You see Kellen Winslow and Craig Lumpkin. That's why Josh Freeman was upset. Watch right here in the middle of the screen. They're running a rub route. And Kellen Winslow puts the hit of the day for the Buccaneers on Josh Freeman's intended receiver, Curtis Lofton, the beneficiary. That's why Josh Freeman was so mad. Now, you want to blame those things on Josh Freeman, not his fault. When you got receivers running into each other, that's not good. That's the bad news Bucs right there.
Spurlock returning from the 4 for the Buccaneers. And knocked out of bounds. And a late flag. They're going to tack on some more yardage as the Falcons will be called for the late hit. Scott Green.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 52, 15 yards from the end of the run, first down.
Penalty is against Akeem Dent, so a 12-yard return plus 15, and there is Freeman and Kellen Winslow talking it over. Rough year.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com.
Here in Atlanta, the Buccaneers will have a first down on their 31. 35-0, the Falcons lead. LeGarrette Blount edges forward for a pickup of 2.5. Beret Jerry. Brian Van Gorder, the defensive coordinator for Atlanta. How their defense doing so far? Well, pretty impressive. They have 3 takeaways in which the Falcons have scored 3 times. Only 11 yards given up. That's less than a yard per play. And Lofton with the interception return for the touchdown. Penalty flag.
You know, Dick, one of the things we talked to Josh Freeman yesterday, we asked him, do you want to keep playing for Raheem Morris? He said, I love playing for Raheem Morris, but it comes to a point where you got to stop talking about it and you got to start showing it. And we haven't shown it, and they certainly aren't showing it there today.
False start penalty against Tampa Bay.
Correction. The penalty is declined. It'll be second down.
So they'll take the down, and there's Rondé Barber heading into the locker room. And interesting this week is Barber. Question is, will he come back for another year? And was talking about Raheem Morris and perhaps his future. Second down and 9. Freeman's pass is caught by Kellen Winslow. And let's see now. Another flag is down. After the 5-yard pickup, William Moore, maybe a helmet-to-helmet here.
There is no foul for unnecessary roughness. The receiver was a runner when he was hit. Third down.
Well, that clarifies it.
And that's a good job by the referee, because he is not a defenseless player right here. And it wasn't helmet-to-helmet. It was shoulder-to-helmet. Kellen Winslow became a runner, and with a runner, there is no helmet-to-helmet. There is no shoulder-to-helmet. And Mike Smith's making sure that William Moore knows, as does the rest of their team, because that can hurt you in the playoffs.
And, of course, the story with Curtis Lofton last week with the helmet-to-helmet penalty in New Orleans. Third down and 4. Here's Freeman getting the rush. Nearly had the ball knocked away again. Completes the pass to Lumpkin, and Craig Lumpkin just shy of midfield where Jonathan Babineau makes the tackle and a gain of 12 yards. Good pressure that time by John Abraham, who already has a sack and a strip. First down at the 49. Only the second first down of the game for Tampa Bay. Freeman's pass caught and knocked away, and it's picked up by William Moore. And still on his feet, Moore. He forced the fumble and picked up as well. And the Atlanta Falcons get the ball back. Another turnover here.
Outstanding play by William Moore. Attacks the football. Kellen Winslow holding it loosely. He fumbled last week, fumbles again here today. William Moore strips the football, picks it up and runs. Atlanta, everything's going right. And for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, everything's going wrong.
This is an embarrassing performance by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Raheem Morris throws the challenge flag. I think what he's challenging is that William Moore can't pick up the ball, but if he does reestablish himself after he goes out of bounds, he can be the first guy. He did.
So we're going to take a break here, and a challenge by Raheem Morris. We'll be right back.
Today's game is sponsored by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
Ruling on the field that there is a fumble and a recovery by Atlanta. Tampa Bay is challenging Mike Pereira. How about William Moore on this play?
Well, you got a lot to look at here. You got to look at, is it a catch? You know, he's got 2 feet clearly down, really makes a football type move, ruled a catch and a fumble, so I think that part stands. Then you've got the recovery here. Now he's got to get both feet clearly down on the field to play. Left's down. Now before he touches the ball, you got to get the right foot completely down in order to make this a recovery. You know, it's kind of one of those you look at and watch again. We'll take a look at here. And this is undoubtedly, since they probably established it is a catch, this is they're going to look at left. Now the touch in relation to the right foot hitting down. This is a look that they have to come up in 60 seconds. They have to review both of these things. In my mind, the longer that they're under the hood, and again, take a look here, I think that really that touch comes almost at precisely the same time that the heel hits the ground. That's not 2 feet completely down. So, you know, in my mind, I think they're probably going to reverse this and leave it as a catch, but make it a fumble out of bounds and give the ball back to the receiving team. It is one of those that's pretty close, though.
So clearly, you've got to get both feet down, not just the heel. You got to get that other foot down before you recover it.
Right, that's the whole thing. 2 feet completely down.
And as you said, Mike, and we thank you very much for your input. Long time under the hood for Scott Green. Here he comes.
After reviewing the play, the receiver had possession of the ball. However, the man that recovered the ball had not reestablished with both feet back inbounds prior to touching the ball. It was touched simultaneously. Therefore, it is a ball touched out of bounds. It will be Tampa Bay's ball, 2nd down and 19 on the 41-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 8:51.
Well, Mike was right that he didn't get both feet down clearly before he picked it up, and he was right about long time under the hood. They're going to reverse this thing.
And that's why I thank the dear Lord for Mike Pereira every night as I go to bed, because he knows there's a lot going on here, and he explains it so well.
So the Buccaneers get the ball back. They're on their 41-yard line, trailing 35-0. Little under 9 minutes remaining in the first half here. Victory for the Atlanta Falcons will wrap up a number 5 seed and avoiding the New Orleans Saints in the playoffs next week on the road.
Real good challenge by Raheem Morris. Quick to catch that. But the consistent theme is the lack of ball security by the Buccaneers. It's been awful. It's been awful all year, and that's why this season has gone downhill.
And it's been a careless performance. And I want to ask the question everyone says the players want to play hard to save Raheem Morris's job. And you asked Josh Freeman about that yesterday, and that was one of the frankest answers that we've heard from a player in a long time on that issue.
So let's play like it. Let's not talk about it. This is a results-oriented business. Let's play like we want to save his job.
Talk is cheap, in other words. 2nd down and 18, handoff to Moses Madhu, and Madhu not much. Ray Edwards is right there.
Ray Edwards in the stop. It's
3rd down and 16.
This 3rd down defense is something that the Saints absolutely torched the Atlanta Falcons on last week. 8 of 8 in the first half. It was the difference in the game. Much better here today.
Third down and 16, up the middle, untouched. And getting rid of it and managing to get the ball to the line of scrimmage as William Moore came in untouched from the safety position. Time now for a game break. Kurt Menefee.
Well, a win by the Broncos over Kansas City, and they clinched the AFC West. So on 3rd down, Tim Tebow trying to work his magic. Scrambling, but it doesn't happen this play. He fumbles the football. Chiefs holding on to a 7-0 lead. If Denver loses and Oakland wins the West. Dick, John?
All right, San Diego is leading Oakland 14-10 with about 6 minutes left in the half. Michael Kanan will kick it away, and Eric Weems. And a fair catch called for by Weems at the 13. So Eric Weems will be a Pro Bowl alternate after the 42-yard kick. Happy New Year. 35-0. Falcons will be back. Well, there's Tony Gonzalez, who had a contract extension, but the guy that knows all the details is Jay Glazer out in L.A. Jay, tell us about it.
Well, you know, Tony's been going back and forth on whether or not he wanted to retire. Actually came down to the last couple of weeks. And once he decided, look, this team is a playoff team. I think they got a good future. I do want to come back. And Thomas Dimitroff got very aggressive after that. They gave him a 1-year deal for almost $7 million. He says, I want the guy here, his consistency. He's great for the young guys like Julio Jones and Roddy White.
And there's no reason why he would retire the way he's been playing.
You know, until when you get up there in age, what is he, like 68 years old right now or whatever it is, I think, you know, it's obviously going to creep into you every week. I know he definitely considered retiring after the season. It's creeped in his mind an awful lot. But at the end, you saw how he's playing, guys. He's behind Jimmy Graham, playing better than anybody in the conference right now. And he decided, because this team still has a great future playoff-wise, and for next year as well, he wanted to come back.
All right, Jay, thank you very much. We appreciate the insight as Michael Turner picks up 5 more yards and gets it to the 19. So Tony Gonzalez second to the great Jerry Rice for most receptions in NFL history, and the rest of the phenomenal marks that he has.
You know, and I think the thing that allows Tony Gonzalez to play so well, in addition to the great work ethic that he has in his 15th year, is that when I played against Tony Gonzalez in his 7th and 8th year, which is supposed to be your prime year, speed was never the thing you were concerned with. You had him covered, but you still couldn't get the ball out of there because he's so good using that body, as Michael Turner busts through once again.
And talk about using your body. Here is Michael Turner, who's gone over 100 yards and will go in for the touchdown. Michael Turner, 81 yards. And that is his second touchdown of the game. Almost made it look easy, and how frustrating it must be for your former teammate, Rondé Barber.
And just sit back there and watch this. This is lack of execution, lack of gap integrity, lack of tackling by E.J. Biggers. And who's the one hustling downfield? Number 20 in his 15th year. Not a lot of other guys tackling. That's not good football. That's hard to watch.
And when Turner scored the touchdown in the second quarter to make it 28-0, he already became the all-time career rushing touchdown leader for the Falcons, passing Gerald Riggs. This was his 50th career touchdown for Atlanta. And Matt Bryant, been a busy man, kicking the point after, and he does it again. 42-0 as the Falcons getting ready, and they'll be able to sit some guys with this comfortable lead early. For Michael Turner, his 172 yards is the season's high for him, and 81 his longest run as a Falcon. He had an 83-yard run with San Diego, but watch this block.
Well, let's just add to the list as to why he was worth every draft pick they gave up. Look at that. Julio Jones comes down and puts it on Ahmad Black. It puts it on the corner to make the tackle on Michael Turner. A bad effort by E.J. Biggers, and Michael Turner is out the door. Mike Smith asked for the Falcons to get this running game going before their second season, before the playoffs, and this team has delivered and delivered well. You see the guy in his 15th year, Rondé Barber, giving every ounce of energy, and you don't see it a lot from a lot of other guys on that defense. And for a guy who's played on this defense, and a defense that was proud and built on hustle and effort and execution, that's really hard to watch.
Bosher will kick off to Preston Parker. And a deep kick, and the Bucs will take it out on the 20-yard line. Well, Wednesday, January 18th, TV's biggest phenomenon, American Idol, returns for an all-new season, and the talent is ready to shine. Join Randy, Jennifer, Stephen, and Ryan, and welcome back America's #1 show, American Idol. The two-night premiere begins Wednesday, January 18th on Fox. Buccaneers have a first down on the 20-yard line, trailing 42-0. When Atlanta had 35 points already, it set a first-half record that they established at San Francisco back in '09. And they have exceeded that. Freeman completes to Parker on the slant. And Parker is going to be run down by Thomas Deku. And the Bucs showing something for the first time today. A 48-yard pass and run to the 32 of the Falcons.
And this is where Josh Freeman's at his best. You spread a defense out. He's going to get rid of the ball accurately. Preston Parker is a guy who has struggled with ball security this year, but certainly adds a little juice to this offense. He's got a little burst to him, and that's what they got to go get more of. They got to go get speed on this offense to help the guy that I believe is a franchise quarterback out.
First down on the 32. And this one is caught close to the first down by Desmond Briscoe. And they'll mark it just short of the first down. So the Buccaneers, who have turned the ball over 3 times, and the Falcons have capitalized to the tune of 3 touchdowns. Freeman is 7 of 11 for 88 yards and 2 interceptions. Second down and less than 1. They have the first down. Craig Lumpkin to the 20. Time for a game break. Here's Kurt Menefee.
A Bengals win, they clinch a wild card spot. A Baltimore win, and they clinch the North and the 2nd seed. Ray Rice giving it to advantage Baltimore right now. 70 yards on the touchdown run. Ravens lead at 10-3. About a minute and a half to go in the first half. Dick and John, they gave it a little closer than yours.
All right. And the Jets needed somewhat of a miracle, a win and 3 teams losing, but the Jets lost to Miami 19-17. And what a fizzle at the end of the year for the Jets. Here's Freeman, and caught and hit hard is Kellen Winslow. Thomas Deku putting on the hit on Winslow, who manages to hold on and get 13 yards and a first down inside the 10.
Nice job by Josh Freeman delivering a strike, and another strike by Thomas Deku. A legal hit, a hard hit. Kellen Winslow does a nice job of holding on to that ball. He's going to be sent to the sidelines. I like these safeties for the Atlanta Falcons. William Moore and Thomas Deku playing at a high level.
And with a win, they will play the winner of the Giant Cowboy game on the road next week in the wild card. First and goal from the 7. And losing the ball is Freeman. He recovers his own fumble after John Abraham tackled him from behind. What a half for Abraham, who already has stripped the ball away from Freeman.
Well, they tried James Lee. Now they've tried DeMar Dotson, and it doesn't matter. John Abraham's running right through them, and so what do you have to do? You have to adjust. You have to chip. You have to give that right tackle help. Your starting right tackle is hurt. You got to give him some help, or your quarterback's going to get killed.
Meanwhile, the Falcons are called for an offside penalty.
What a career for John Abraham. Second amongst active players.
Distance to the goal. Still first down.
And Jason Taylor, who will hang him up after today's game.
So the 4-yard penalty would be first and goal at the 3, and it takes away that sack by Abraham. And you're right about Jason Taylor, a great one who finishes out on top. Freeman gets it to LeGarrette Blount. Lost his footing, was backed up, didn't have a good balance at all, and Deku came in. And now they knock them back to the 10-yard line, a loss of 7.
You know, these Atlanta safeties, they were both really disappointed that they left some interceptions out there. You see Thomas Deku right here. Good execution by the Bucs, but LeGarrette Blount trips over his own feet. And you love the defense. You love the attacking style of these Atlanta Falcons here today. I think that's the mentality the idea that they've got to enter these playoffs, go on the attack. That's how you compete with the best teams in the league.
They're trying to set a tone for next week. Second down and goal, and this one is caught by Parker inside the 5, and the forward progress will be at about the 3-yard line. Chris Owens, Deku, and Dominique Franks, so an 8-yard gain. And it'll be third down and goal. The ball placed at the 2. Fans here looking for a Falcons stop. And they'd have to do it on 2 downs. Lumpkin going in motion. Freeman lofts it, caught, touchdown, Desmond Briscoe. As he managed to have the size advantage over William Moore and grabs the 2-yard pass for the touchdown, and the Buccaneers, with 2:04 to go in the half, finally score.
Briscoe right here, he's going to be working against William Moore, the safety. Not a great throw by Freeman, but a great job of going and plucking that football by Desmond Briscoe. That's great effort. That's going and attacking a football and bringing it in and saying, that's my ball. Nice job by Desmond Briscoe.
5th touchdown of the year for Briscoe, starting in place of the injured Aurelius Ben and Connor Barth for the point after. And the Falcons lead it 42-7. We'll be right back. Kickoff goes into the end zone, and the new quarterback will be Chris Redmond, as Matt Ryan finishes his day getting ready for next week's playoff matchup against either the Giants or the Cowboys on the road. Ryan was 6 of 9 for 106 yards and threw 2 touchdown passes.
Scenario couldn't have worked out any better for Mike Smith and the Atlanta Falcons. You get your quarterback out, he plays well. Now you get to rest him and let Chris Redmond go to work. Redmond
completes his first pass to Roddy White. White gets the first down as he gets to the 32-yard line, and we're down to the 2-minute warning. 1:55 on the clock here in Atlanta with the Falcons up 42-7. And while Matt Ryan was in there, he became the all-time Falcon leader in passing yardage, moving past Jeff George. Those are the only 2 who have gone over 4,000 in their careers, and Matt Ryan surpassed that. And Chris Redmond, who has been a very reliable backup. Every time we have seen him come in a game, he has been very poised. 1st and 10. And the end around to Julio Jones. And Jones getting 9 yards. A lot of ways you can use Julio Jones, Mr. Lynch.
Absolutely, and the offensive coordinator, Mike Mularkey, for the Atlanta Falcons is doing a great job of doing that. This guy is a difference maker with the ball in his hands, and he suddenly just eats up yards, much like Calvin Johnson. All of a sudden you look up, and that was a 9-yard gain right there. It didn't look like a whole lot, but the guy moves at such a high rate of speed. He's so big, so strong. He's a chunk yard guy. And valuable to this offense.
2nd down and 1. Jason Snelling close to the first down. He may have it. Albert Hainsworth making the stop. Mike Mularkey, who is the offensive coordinator of the Falcons, blessed with having Julio Jones.
As well as Matt Ryan, who's had an outstanding year, as we just saw by that record.
This is their second charge timeout.
And a timeout.
30-second timeout.
Charged to the Falcons. They have 1 remaining. It is a first down.
And Dick, I talk about eating up yards. Look at Julio Jones. This is a 40-yard gain. Doesn't look like a whole lot, but those strides are so long. He runs a 4.240. Calvin Johnson, the same way. As I'm watching film this week, I said that's who Julio Jones can become. I think the Falcons are finding that out, and that's why I think he can be the wild card in these playoffs. You've got Roddy White, who's the 2nd leading receiver in the NFL in terms of receptions. You have Tony Gonzalez, but this guy's your game breaker. You got Michael Turner running. It's all looking good for the Atlanta Falcons.
And Redmond's pass is batted down by Hainsworth. And of course, it gives the defensive coordinators of the Cowboys or the Giants, whoever survives that, really something to be concerned about going into next week's wild card.
You got a lot to be concerned. You got Matt Ryan, you got Julio Jones, Roddy White, Tony Gonzalez. You've got Michael Turner running the football well. There's a lot to be concerned about with this Atlanta Falcons offense.
You mentioned Turner with 2 touchdowns, including an 81-yard score, 172 yards on 17 carries. 2nd down and 10. Weems is in the game as a receiver out to the left. And this pass is caught by Michael Palmer, the tight end. Makes the catch at the 48-yard line of the Falcons, with Elbert Mack making the stop. Under a minute to go in the half. Falcons pick up 6. Redmond, in his 5th year with the Falcons, seeing action in his 5th game, and there are Turner's. Look how he exploded today. Last 3 games, 176 yards. 4 more than what he accomplished today in a little more than a quarter.
And they were concerned coming in because the running game was going the wrong direction. You couldn't have asked for this half to go any better than the Falcons, and they went out there and they took it. They went out there and they earned it this half, and good for them.
Redmond's pass caught by Weems at the 45. And the final seconds being ticked off as Redmond looks at the clock and says that'll be it. The Visa halftime report coming up. A record-setting day at Green Bay. 1,000 yards passing by the 2 quarterbacks and 11 touchdowns. The Bengals are battling for a playoff spot. Fox NFL Sunday will continue with the Visa halftime report after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Back here at the Georgia Dome, we're getting ready for the start of the 3rd quarter with the Falcons leading the Bucs 42-7. Follow your favorite team all season long. Go to iTunes.com/NFL. Falcons will be kicking off to the Buccaneers as we start the 2nd half. Josh Freeman completed 13 of 17 for 99 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, and as we've seen, not all his fault on the picks.
Not at all.
Preston Parker will take it in the end zone for the touchback. Obviously, the Atlanta Falcons, John, are a very impressive first half. And people might say, well, this is not a playoff team, to say the least. But they're doing it against this team. What does it really mean that they're showing what they're showing against the team of Tampa Bay?
Well, you know what it means. It means confidence, and it means momentum going into the playoffs. And I don't care who you do it against. You feel good about yourselves going into the playoffs. And regardless of who you play, you're going to go in with a great feeling. And they earned that. They went out there and executed a game plan to perfection. They did what their coach asked. And it was pretty to watch.
Freeman, the quarterback, and the first pass incomplete. Straughter was the intended receiver. A lot of people will say that the Buccaneers are bereft of cohesive play at this point of the game, and showing it in so many ways.
Bereft they may be, but they're an NFL team, and if I'm Raheem Morris, I've told them at halftime, someone's coaching this team next year, and I would suggest you guys go play all out with all-out effort, because they're going to be watching and evaluating that film. And that's what this half is all about for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
It's not a pleasant film to look at. I mean, that's your resume on the line. 2nd down and 10, the handoff to Craig Lumpkin. And Lumpkin picks up 2 yards. And right now, let's check in with Jamie Maggio, who had the chance to talk with Mike Smith.
Thanks, Dick. Well, not surprisingly, Coach Smith was all smiles at halftime. He said he's going to continue to gradually rest his starters. As for that Giants-Cowboys game after this, he said he'll definitely be watching. As for who he'd like to play in the next round, he said, let's just get through this game first. Guys, back to you.
He wouldn't have said it. He wouldn't have said it to any of us. Even after this game were over. 3rd down and 8.
I can tell you one thing, it wasn't the Saints.
3rd and 8 for Freeman. And Briscoe with the catch and out of bounds. Did not have both feet inbounds. So it'll be 4th down and a punting situation. Michael Kanan will come in to kick it away. Briscoe, who caught a touchdown pass from 2 yards out for the only score for Tampa Bay. This is really the ideal scenario for Mike Smith to build up a lead like this, that you can actually virtually salt away a win. Let's face it. And at the same time, rest your players. Challenge, and Raheem Morris is challenging the ruling on the field that Briscoe did not make the reception before he was out of bounds.
Tampa Bay is challenging the ruling on the field on the previous play.
Look at control, 1 foot down. And it's tough to see whether that right foot is down. That entire foot, he drags it. I think that's a catch. Good challenge by Raheem Morris.
Today's game is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. By the Ford F-150, the only truck available with EcoBoost. By Taco Bell, think outside the bun. And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
Here is Scott Green after looking it over.
After reviewing the play, the receiver got both feet down inbounds. It is a catch. He drug his back foot. It'll be 1st and 10 on the 31-yard line. That is Tampa Bay's second challenge. However, they both were correct, so Tampa Bay will be permitted one more challenge. They are not charged with a timeout.
And Mike Pereira told us during that break that Scott Green and officials' best friends, that rubber that flies up on that field, makes it pretty clear for these officials, the rubber and the field turf. Scott Green appreciative for that rubber in the field turf.
And you can see it come up, and that was the decisive factor.
2 good challenges for Raheem Morris today.
And he has another one now. You get an extra challenge when you win the first 2. 1st and 10 at the 31. This one is caught by Briscoe, and he goes out of bounds at the 35, getting 4.
Now, Dick, I've been in these situations before when you're playing games as the Falcons go into the playoffs, and this is part of being a professional. And believe me, the thing to do, the best thing to do, is go out there and play just as hard as you did in that first half, because everybody wants to stay healthy. The way you stay healthy is by playing full speed. You let Mike Smith take care of taking players out. You continue to play, continue with that foot on the gas pedal.
2nd down and 6, and the starters are still in there defensively for Atlanta. Freeman drills it, and nowhere near Briscoe, thrown behind him, and Chris Owens got a hand on it. So it's 3rd and 6.
One of the things we talked about, the consistent pass rush or lack thereof for the Atlanta Falcons this season. It bit them versus the New Orleans Saints last week, particularly the lack of finish. Mike Smith said, listen, John, we believe in a rotation during the year, but come playoff time, we're going with our best rushers. He thinks that will help generate a more consistent pass rush. The other thing I've seen is much more blitzing than the Falcons have done in the past weeks. It's been effective for them.
3rd down and 5, and they've really done a good job against the run, which had been a problem last week when they gave up 164. 3rd down, Freeman, and dropped by Lumpkin, and he was well covered by Sean Witherspoon. Buccaneers have only 19 yards rushing in this game, but here's that last one.
So if you're struggling to get a pass rush, go ahead, bring that blitz. William Moore does a nice job of disguising it. You put them in a situation where they got to make one-on-one catches. There's some execution involved with that. Nice job by Brian Van Gorder and this defensive staff putting together a great game plan, and the players are executing it flawlessly.
Michael Kanan kicking to Eric Weems. He'll let it go, and it stops inside the 5, and the Buccaneers will down it at the 5-yard line. And that's where they'll take over early in the 3rd quarter. 42 unanswered points to start the game for Atlanta. We're back here in Atlanta, where the Falcons will start from the 5-yard line, leading 42-7. 3 touchdowns off of 3 Buccaneer turnovers. Chris Redmond handing off to Jason Snelling, and Snelling picks it out to the 8 where Roy Miller makes the tackle. What a year for passers, especially Drew Brees and Tom Brady. And you could throw a couple of more in there, beating Dan Marino's record. Brees and Brady. Brees did it last week against Atlanta, and Brady also today against Buffalo.
A record that had stood for a long, long time. And that's what this league has come to. And that's why that quarterback position is so critical. That's why the Falcons are fortunate to have a guy like Matt Ryan playing at the level he's playing at.
And here is Redmond's pass, and Roddy White was the intended receiver. Knocked down. Might have been a catchable ball for Roddy White. How about the New Orleans Saints, the 3 seed? And we've been talking all year long that if anyone can beat Green Bay in the playoffs, they have the firepower to do it.
They certainly do, and they got the quarterback to do it in Drew Brees. And as good as Aaron Rodgers has been all year long, Drew Brees of late has been just as good. The Saints defense has started playing better football. The Saints are going to be a tough out. Now the Saints are going to have to go on the road at some point during this playoffs. And
pass is caught. Roddy White battles 2 defenders and gets the first down as he goes out of bounds at the 24. 16 yards for Roddy White.
And expounded on that with New Orleans. They'll be at home next week. Take on all comers. They are tough to beat in that dome. We've been there. But then if seeds follow, you have to go out to San Francisco, who's playing great defensive football. You wonder if San Fran can score with the New Orleans, and then up to Green Bay. But the one thing the Saints are, they're equipped. They can run the football just as well.
Redmond's pass incomplete. Now the 49ers pretty impressive at home at 7-1 this year. And you just may have hit the nail. Can the 49ers keep up offensively with what the Saints can do with all their weapons?
And it just makes you wonder, because these offenses of a Drew Brees, of an Aaron Rodgers, Matt Flynn, they're so potent, you're going to have to score touchdowns.
You wouldn't have said Matt Flynn last week.
I'm saying it now. 6 touchdowns.
480 yards. Know what you mean. 2nd down and 10. On the 24, Rodgers up the middle. And Rodgers is stopped by Biggers. Rodgers scored the first touchdown of the game for the Falcons. For Roddy White, he gets a record today. And with a smile on his face, comes back into the lineup.
Roddy White, he takes some heat around here in Atlanta because he dropped more passes than anybody in the league. But sometimes, don't be too spoiled, fans. This was a guy coming into today, number 2 in the NFL, only behind Wes Welker in receptions, 8 touchdowns on the year. Number 1 in the NFL on 3rd down. This guy's an outstanding player. And I think they're lucky to have him.
Career franchise record for most receiving yards for Roddy White. Redmond gets out of trouble and manages to flip it for a short gain to Jaquez Rodgers. Elbert Mack makes the tackle, and Roddy White is 1 catch away from 100 receptions this year. Remember, Roddy White, Pro Bowl performer last year, and as Matt Ryan told us, he makes a lot of plays that people don't make when he's out there. 4th down, Matt Bosher will kick, and Michael Spurlock back deep for Tampa Bay. Bobbling, but holding on is Michael Spurlock, as Antoine Smith makes the hit immediately and very nearly forced a turnover after the 43-yard kick.
I tell you what, you talk about all phases, offense, defense, special teams. The Falcons, they've been awesome today, leading 42-7.
Ball, 1st down on their 24. And we'll have a flag down, a false start penalty against the Buccaneers.
False start, offense, number 69, 5-yard penalty, first down.
And time for a game break. Kurt Menefee brings us up to date.
Neither Seattle nor Arizona going to the playoffs, but the winner of this game will finish 500. Leon Washington doing his part to help Seattle do just that 48-yard touchdown run. They're all even at 10 apiece midway through the third quarter, Dick and John.
Both of these teams have something to be looking forward to next year.
Absolutely. I think great coaching jobs by both Pete Carroll and Ken Wisenhunt, keeping those teams in it right till the end.
1st and 15. And there's the screen to LeGarrette Blount. And Blount, leaping as he likes to do, gets stopped at the 29. Well, Rondé Barber, we saw him in the first half go into the locker room for a report. Here's Jamie.
Thank you, Dick. Well, Rondé Barber has not come out of the locker room. The report is that he has an arm injury. His return to this game is questionable.
Setting a Buccaneers record, Jamie, with 225th game, passing Derek Brooks. And, of course, questions about whether he will decide to hang it up after this year. 2nd down and 5. And Freeman's pass is caught for the first down by Craig Lumpkin. And, of course, who could discuss possible retirements for DBs on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers than one? Who was that, Mr. Lynch?
Well, you know, I've spent some time with Rondé this week, and I think he's fully intending on coming back and playing. He's playing too well not to do that. I told him, you see that Gonzalez contract, that should be your platform. Go to the Bucs and say, hey, 1 year, $7 million, I'm good. But in all seriousness, Rondé's played at such a high level this year. I think they know how to use him correctly. Regardless of who's the coach, I think Rondé Barber should be back in a Tampa Bay Buccaneer uniform.
Why hang it up if you don't have to? Madhu with the carry. It was interesting when you were talking to Matt Ryan and you asked him about Rondé Barber, and he says, you tell me about him.
Well, I'll tell you, in all seriousness, to get 225 games under your belt, you got to be a tough player, and that's the toughest player I ever played with. Combination of physical toughness, mental toughness. I've seen this guy play with things that guys normally don't play under. A great career, still playing, plays with so much pride, so much passion. To pass the great Derek Brooks, that's something special for Rondé Barber. 2nd down and 9. And the pass is caught by Parker for a first down. And, of course, his brother, Tiki Barber, retired. And, maybe because of the course of time, maybe regretted it. He wanted to come back and play. No one took a chance on him. And maybe Rondé sees that and says, look, I'm not even going to leave this game until I really have to. Oh, believe me, that's in the back of his mind. And that's always the hardest thing for an athlete to do. When's the right time? But when you're playing as well as he is, and you're still having fun and you still love it, keep doing it.
Josh Johnson is in as a wide receiver as Freeman goes to Johnson. Pass is thrown out of bounds, but was covered well by Chris Owens. Josh Johnson is the backup quarterback, of course, with the Buccaneers behind Freeman.
And there's the great career of Rondé Barber. 5-time Pro Bowl selection, 199 consecutive starts, most amongst active players, 43 interceptions, 27 sacks to go along with it. This guy's made a strong case for the Hall of Fame after this career. One of the great players I ever had the pleasure of playing with.
To be one of 2 former Buccaneers in the Hall of Fame who played in that secondary. Here's a catch made by Mike Williams, his first catch of the game, and the Falcons showing a shoddy job of tackling there. They're going to call the forward progress with Thomas Daku finally making the stop down at the 20-yard line. He'll get 31 yards eventually here.
A nice ball from Josh Freeman, and this is what you don't want in the second half, because habits like this, things like this can carry over, and Mike Smith is not happy right now by that tackling. They did things so well. You want to finish. Their theme for the week was finish, and I promise you, Mike Smith saying, guys, finish this thing in the right way. We could feel good about going into the playoffs.
Lumpkin. And he gives ground. William Moore, first one to get him, and a loss of 2 yards. Get coverage of every NFL game with NFL Mobile. Call ** NFL now. Dick Stockton along with John Lynch and Jamie Maggio here in Atlanta. Mike Smith, who has led the Falcons to the playoffs in 3 of his 4 years here, and for the first time in franchise history, playoffs in consecutive seasons. Last year stunned by Green Bay in the divisional round after going 13-3 and losing here. Freeman. And holding on is Kellen Winslow, who is about 1.5 yards shy of the first down, with Lofton and Dominique Franks from the secondary.
And Mike Smith, he's been wonderful as a coach here during the regular season. The next step is to go win in the playoffs, and you want to be an elite quarterback. He talked about, an elite head coach. He talked about his quarterback, Matt Ryan, entering the elite category. And I would beg to differ only from the standpoint to be elite. I think you've got to do it in the postseason. And that goes for Mike Smith and Matt Ryan. They're going to have their opportunity once again.
3rd down and 2. Ball at the 12, and the ball gets past Freeman on the low snap, and he'll lose big yardage all the way back to the 26. Sidbury will get credit for the tackle on a faulty snap and a loss of 11 yards. And we'll take a closer look to see exactly where it went wrong.
And again, nothing Josh Freeman can do right there. That's a low snap from Jeff Fain. Josh Freeman does a good job just to secure the football. And Sidbury was the beneficiary of a bad snap.
So now Connor Barth will attempt a 41-yard field goal. And Connor Barth, kick is good, and the Buccaneers now trail 42-10. Last time the Falcons won a playoff game was in the division round back in 2005. Falcons lead the Buccaneers 42-10. Falcons will have the ball 1st and 10 at the 20. Rondé Barber back in civilian clothes from the locker room. And look at the right hand, which has been taped up. So his season is over, obviously. And coming back earnestly, I might add, right? 1st down, Redmond. And it's caught at the 38 by Roddy White. Falcons have their first team in there, including their offensive line.
And that's a good opportunity for Chris Redmond to get out there and get good reps with Roddy White with his first team offensive line to get a feel for it. And God forbid something happened for the Atlanta Falcons to Matt Ryan at the quarterback position. As you mentioned earlier, they got to feel very comfortable with Chris Redmond as a backup.
This is his 5th game in his 5th year. Drafted by the Ravens, was out of football. Roddy White with 100 catches on the year with that reception. 1st down, and intercepted and run in for the touchdown by Elbert Mack. So Redmond makes a mistake, and Elbert Mack read it perfectly. Over 40 yards for the return on the interception.
Well, this guy right here, Elbert Mack, is always a guy that's somewhat of an afterthought. He just makes the team, but all he ever does is make plays. Every time they put him out there, good things happen. And I think guys like that deserve more playing time. Elbert Mack, nice job of playing. Second half of a game that's out of hand, you keep playing, and he should be an example for a lot of his other teammates.
And there's Rondé Barber going over to Elbert Mack to congratulate him. That is his 2nd interception of the season. And it must be his 1st touchdown because he wanted the football.
Take that thing home, paint it up.
Going for 2 with 3:32 to go in the 3rd quarter and trailing by a lot. Here's the fade, and it's caught by Winslow for the 2-point conversion as he outjumped Dominique Franks. And now 42-18. So the Falcons scored the first 42 points of the game, and the Buccaneers the last 18, including this beautifully timed leap by Kellen Winslow for the 2. Moments ago, Rondé Barber giving a hug to Elbert Mack with his interception and his first NFL touchdown. Barber injuring his right hand. Had to leave the game in the first half.
Dick, I know Rondé Barber played with them for a long time. For him to be out of a game, even in a last game like this, I would venture to say, I don't want to play doctor up here, but something's wrong there. Something that hopefully can heal throughout an offseason. But he's not on that sidelines in street clothes unless something's broken.
You're not a doctor?
No, but I did say it a Holiday Inn Express.
Yeah. Hey, a little plug. Anyway, he wasn't there enough, John, for his 225th game played with the Buccaneers. Breaking Derek Brooks' record there is Rodgers back deep. And Kanan kicking it well out of the end zone. And for a game break, Kurt Menefee.
Well, the AFC North and number 2 seed are both still up for grabs. Joshua Redmond trying to get it for the Steelers. His touchdown put them up 13-9 over the Browns. But they also need Baltimore to win, or lose, pardon me, in order for that to happen. This is Bernard Scott of Cincinnati with a 25-yard touchdown, but still, the Ravens lead at 17-10. If everything stays just like it is right now, Dick and John, then the Ravens would be the number 2 seed and the champs of the AFC North.
All right, Kurt, thank you very much. So the Ravens control their own destiny as Jacquizz Rodgers showing his running skills, tackled by Larry Asante. 12-yard pickup for Rodgers with 3:20 to go. And I guess when you talk about the NFC and Matt Ryan, Matt Ryan really has been effective lately. Where does he rank with the elite we've been talking about?
Well, I think there's certain guys that are in a different stratosphere right now. The Aaron Rodgers of the world, the Drew Brees of the world. But I put Matt Ryan right in that second tier, and that's not a slam on Matt Ryan, believe me. I think very highly of this guy, but I think you want to get in that elite category, go have success in the playoffs, and that puts you there.
Good play made by number 71, Michael Bennett, on Reggie Jacquizz Rodgers, and a loss of 3 yards.
One of the things Coach Mike Smith talked about being so proud of Matt Ryan in this year was his work in the no-huddle offense. They do it a large part of their offense. Mike Smith says his experience in playing against Peyton Manning when he was with the Jacksonville Jaguars as a defensive coordinator led him to say that when I'm a head coach, I want to run a no-huddle offense because it was so hard to defend. And right now, nobody's doing it better than Matt Ryan.
Second down and 13. Weems lining up as his receiver to the right, and this is dropped by Roddy White. Well, we understand that the right arm for Rondé Barber is broken, so maybe you didn't have to stay at any hotel for you to be a doctor. Maybe you are one.
And really, like I told you, that's the toughest player I've ever played with. And as we see another drop from Roddy White, that's been a problem. That's his Achilles heel more than anybody in the National Football League, but they throw to him often. He makes plenty of plays to make up for it. Just knowing Rondé, like I said earlier, he's on the sideline, something's broken because he won't go to the sidelines. He doesn't even miss practice.
Third down and 13 from the 29. Redmond. And out of the backfield, Julio Jones, and a good tackle made by Elbert Mack to prevent Jones from getting away and holding him to 5 yards. So it's 4th down, and the Falcons will have to kick.
It's 4th down.
Michael Spurlock goes back, and Bosher will be kicking for the Falcons. And I have to think that the Falcons have to breathe a sigh of relief that they won't be playing the New Orleans Saints as much as they wanted another shot at them. To go down there and play New Orleans after losing twice. I know it's hard to lose 3, but the Saints are a special team. Spurlock on the return and goes out of bounds. Well, this month, Fox returns to the Octagon with an incredible UFC Fight Night triple header. Some of the UFC's best fighters will battle for a shot at the title, headlined by former light heavyweight champion Rashad Evans and undefeated Phil Davis, plus 2 explosive middleweight bouts. The UFC Fight Night on Fox Triple Header is live from Chicago on Saturday, January 28th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. First down on the 23. Moses Madu, number 32, is in the backfield with Josh Freeman. And it's Madu with the catch down at the 30 by Sean Weatherspoon.
Dick, and I think one thing as we see John Abraham on the sideline, certain starters starting to come out for Atlanta that we see that could be an Achilles heel for the Falcons in the playoffs is they get a lot of pass rush from John Abraham. They don't get a lot from everyone else. And that's got to change in the playoffs. It's got to come from the inside. It's got to come from a guy like Bierman and Ray Edwards, who they went out and paid a lot of money to get someone opposite of John Abraham. If not, you got to pressure people up.
Catch made by Kellen Winslow for the first down. Lofton on the tackle. Vance Walker, number 99, is also in that defensive line for the Falcons. Matt Ryan today completed 6 of 9 for 106 yards and 2 touchdowns, and became the all-time leading passing leader for yards, surpassing Jeff George, over 4,000 in his career. First down, and here's Madu out of the backfield again, falls down after the catch. And he'll be stopped 2 yards shy of the first down, and that'll be the last play of the third quarter. That is the end of the third here in Atlanta with the score. The Falcons 42 and the Bucs 18. Fox NFL Sunday continues after a word from your local Fox station. Start of the fourth quarter. Dick Stockton, John Lynch, Jamie Maggio. Second down and 2. Josh Johnson is a wide receiver here, but the handoff going to LeGarrette Blount. And it takes several Falcons to bring him down. 4-yard gain and a first down just into Falcon territory. This is the way the scores have been by quarter. The Falcons scored the first 42 points of the game. 21 coming off of 3 turnovers by the Buccaneers, who have tallied the last 18. Interesting that the Falcons can get a little comfortable, but not too comfortable, because they still have to win this game to nail down that coveted number 5 seed. Freeman on first down. And it's caught inside the 30 by Kellen Winslow. Winslow's made some nifty catches, including a 2-point conversion today, John.
He has, and Josh Freeman really, after those early turnovers, has come back and put together a nice game. Gets that ball up there. Kellen Winslow gets up, attacks the football, braces for the hit. Josh Freeman starting to show people why so many people believe this guy has the goods, what it takes to be a special quarterback in this league. If he can eliminate the turnovers, they surround him with more talent. I believe this guy's a special football player.
22-yard gain on the last play. And here's Freeman going underneath to LeGarrette Blount. And LeBlount will have a first down just outside the 15-yard line. Weatherspoon on the tackle. Franks came up as well. An 11-yard gain. You know, it's a 24-point lead right now for the Falcons, and the Bucs are chewing up yards in a hurry. And you know, with the 2-point conversion, they're looking at a 3-score game. First and 10 at the 16. Freeman's pass intended for Parker.
I think this is where, as you look at Josh Freeman's numbers, this is where that pass rush comes in handy. This is where you should be feasting if you're a defensive lineman on pass rush, because the Bucs are in a they've been made one-dimensional. They've got to pass the ball to catch up, and this is where you ought to be teeing off on the quarterback. And without John Abraham, it just seems like they don't generate pass rush unless they blitz.
Bierman, Sidbury, Peters, and Parade Jerry are the 4 in there now, and this pass is caught, and now it's Lumpkin. And Weatherspoon wouldn't let him get away. He gets 2 yards out of it. Still early in this fourth quarter.
Sit back and watch this pass rush. There's one-on-ones, 3 one-on-ones there, and no one's winning. That's a problem. That forces you to have to blitz. And if I'm Brian Van Gorder, yes, you've got 3-score lead. But if you aren't getting it from your front four, dial it up with pressure.
3rd down and 8. Remember, this is 2-down territory for Tampa Bay with the score being what it is. Freeman on the slant, and it's caught by Briscoe and a 1st down at the 10-yard line. Owens on the coverage. A 9-yard pickup, and now they have to separate the players. And no surprise with this rivalry, which is, you know, this year earlier, as John mentioned, Tampa Bay beat Atlanta. Weatherspoon and Davin Joseph, the right guard, who's going to the Pro Bowl for the Buccaneers, involved there.
Well, week 3 was about as chippy a game as I've seen all year. These two teams went at it. They'll both tell you they don't really care for each other. Early on, this game wasn't close. Tampa's starting to get some fight back in them.
And Weatherspoon looking like he has some fight in him, too, off of his actions. And Josh Freeman explaining to the referee that they have to adjust the clock. And finally, Tampa Bay calls a timeout. It is their first of the 2nd half.
Today's game is sponsored by KFC. Bring something different to the party with KFC sauceless hot wings. Now just 50 cents a wing. By UPS. Let UPS put the power of logistics to work for you. And by Visa. More fans go with Visa.
Buccaneers having called their first timeout. Here's what's at stake in this game, with the Lions losing to the Packers. A victory for the Falcons will give them the 5th seed. And they would be playing at either the Giants or the Cowboys. The winner of tonight's game, and avoiding the New Orleans Saints, who demolished them last week, but they are leading 42-18. And here's the fake handoff, the pass up the middle, touchdown to Desmond Briscoe. And after 42 unanswered points to start the game for the Falcons, the Buccaneers have come back with 24, and they're going for 2 here.
Desmond Briscoe comes down in motion. A hard play action fake by Josh Freeman. He fakes like he's blocking the linebacker and then gets to the back of the end zone. A perfectly placed football by Josh Freeman. That's too easy by this Atlanta Falcons defense. A critical 2-point conversion. If the Buccaneers convert, you got a 2-score game.
Briscoe's 2nd touchdown catch of the game. Going for 2 here. Freeman pumps once, throws, and they don't get it. They wanted to go to Briscoe again in the back of the end zone. Curtis Lofton was on the coverage back there, but a flag is down right near the line of scrimmage and behind by about a couple of yards.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer, number 71, going low at the quarterback's legs. Half the distance to the goal. Retry. And
it's Croy Bierman, and it's half the distance and another chance for Tampa Bay.
Now that's tough, because I think he's pushed by Donald Penn into him. Nothing Croy Bierman can do. That's a bad call in my mind. The league has made an emphasis on protecting these quarterbacks, but not when they're thrown into them.
You're right. Clear. And another chance. And the quarterback not going to make it. Freeman tried the quarterback draw, but Sean Weatherspoon was equal to the task, and the Falcons stopped the 2-point conversion, giving them a little breather here. The quarterback draw goes by the boards, and the score 42-24. We'll be back. Here's the scoring drive, and Freeman was 8 of 9 for 73 yards on that drive. Falcons looking for the possibility of the onside kick, and they get it, and it's covered up nicely by Atlanta, and they'll get it at the 48 of Tampa Bay. Reggie Kelly. So good field position now for Mike Smith, who does not look pleased.
He doesn't look pleased, and I think he's unhappy with that last call from the officials. I think he's unhappy with his team. You had such a good game, and he is steamed. You had such a good game going in that first half. But looking forward to the playoffs, this is what people say. The Falcons are a good team, but they can't play with the big boys. They're 1-4 against teams that are going to be in the playoffs this year. I think the Falcons think otherwise. They're going to have to go prove it, though, come starting next week.
25! 25, get on! Ready!
Chris Redmond handing off to Jason Snelling. And Snelling gets to the 44, where Roy Miller makes the tackle. What about the Falcons' defense? I know they have the ball right now, but is their defense staunch enough to make the long run?
Well, I think they're good. I don't think they're a great defense. And, you know, there aren't many dominant defenses left in this league, but it's all about turnovers. And when you look at them on the year, this is a team that's tied for 7th in the turnover margin, 11th in takeaways on the season. You're going to have to get hot in that category in the playoffs for this defense to have success.
Here is Snelling again, first down. Jason Snelling with a good run for the big back as he gets to the 26. Justin Blaylock, the left guard, setting Snelling free for 18.
And watch this offensive line. You see Justin Blaylock, the left guard, go and pull, get the block on Quincy Black. Excellent execution. This offensive line was challenged by their coach, and they've responded in a great way today. They've controlled the line of scrimmage. That's what Mike Smith wanted, and they've certainly done that today.
And it's interesting to see whether that offense can be. Snelling again gets the first down and gets inside the 15. Whether they are strong enough offensively and defensively. And, you know, they're one of the teams that could be lurking and do damage in the playoffs. And that's the question. Do they have enough on both sides of the ball?
And I think when you talk about their defense, it's all about pass rush. Can they get that consistently? They didn't versus the Saints last week. And then the turnovers. They left 3 interceptions out there that they nearly caught. If you want to beat teams like that, you've got to deliver. You've got to finish the deal.
And there you see defensive line. Abraham has had a big game when he was in there earlier. 1st and 10 at the 14. Jacquizz Rodgers changes direction and gets close to the first down. Near the 5. Gets 9. Ahmad Black. Buccaneers safety makes the tackle.
This Jacquizz Rodgers has looked good today. He's looked good throughout the year. He provides a different look for the opposing defenses. A smaller guy like a Darren Sproles. After Michael Turner beats you up, you throw a change of pace at someone. Jacquizz Rodgers is starting to look like that guy for the Atlanta Falcons.
And Julio Jones lines up to the right on 2nd down and a yard. Here's Rodgers up the middle, first down. And is stopped at the 2. So it'll be 1st and goal for the Falcons. And they have outgained the Buccaneers 247 yards to 21 on the ground today. And 172 of those from Michael Turner, who scored 2 touchdowns. 1 an 81-yard scamper.
For the Buccaneers, run defense is something they've got to address in this offseason. Last week, Carolina ran right through them for 260-plus yards. Atlanta right back at them with nearly 250 on the day.
1st and goal. Ball at the 1. And here's Rodgers again. Rodgers. No signal yet. And may have fumbled. Saw the ball come out. And the Buccaneers apparently have recovered. They have. Jacquizz Rodgers fumbles at the 1, and it's recovered by Ahmad Black, number 43.
It's Larry Asante with that left hand, gets the ball out.
And that is the 2nd turnover by Atlanta. And the Bucs get it back at the 2.
Today's game is sponsored by the 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee.
Following the fumble by Rodgers, Buccaneers have it on the 2. Their own 2. And there is the pass caught by Desmond Briscoe. And he takes it out to the 8.
Here's the fumble. Elbert Mack gets his hand on it, but it's Larry Asante who finally gets that left hand. You can see it's out prior to getting into the end zone. The ball's just laying there, and it's Ahmad Black, the rookie from Florida, that brings it in.
2nd down and 4. Freeman is 29 for 38. And there is Briscoe, or Lumpkin that is, and Lofton makes the tackle short of the first down. It'll be 3rd down and about 3 now.
Dick, you talk about moving forward in the playoffs. The strength of this Atlanta team, to me, it's this linebacking core. Sean Weatherspoon took the next step this year. He's got special potential. Curtis Lofton, a very good player in the middle. Stephen Nicholas, they got to get him healthy and right for the playoffs.
And they think Nicholas will be ready. Nicholas missing his 3rd game with a toe injury. 3rd down. And the incomplete pass intended for Keller Winslow. So it's 4th down. You're losing 42-24 with 6:13 to go. And they're going to go for it here. And Raheem Morris with 4th and 2.
And I think this is what you got to do.
Sure.
You got to go down fighting.
And any chance of a Buccaneer miracle comeback would go by the boards if they don't get the first down here. They pass it out, and it is incomplete, and it was deflected, intended for Williams. Ray Edwards got a hand on it, and now they have to separate the players again. Penn delivers a shot at Dante Robinson, and another flag goes down. Now the Atlanta Falcons are a team that is headed for the playoffs. They're going to be playing in a game next week.
Yeah, Mike Smith and these guys, they need to get Dante Robinson and get him to the sidelines. They need him for the playoffs. Out there with his helmet off. The Bucs are going home. The Falcons, they're playing in 6 or 7 days. Dante Robinson needs to get to the sidelines.
Now Donald Penn gave Robinson a shot. Now we don't know how all that started. You always see the finish. You never see what got it underway.
Well, there's the jab, and then here's the right hook.
He wasn't done. Ooh.
It's a big guy picking on a little guy.
After the play, there are 2 fouls that were offset. Unnecessary roughness, number 23, defense. Unnecessary roughness, number 70. It'll be 1st and 10, Atlanta's ball.
Here's where it all starts. Dante Robinson out here. He and Preston Parker get tangled up at the end of this play. Ooh, Preston Parker didn't like that Dante took a shot on him. He threw a left hook at him. Like you said, Dick, it's always the 2nd and 3rd punches that get seen.
And all Penn is doing is protecting Parker.
And he maybe went a little far in protecting Parker, but he's protecting him.
Meanwhile, the Buccaneers do not get the first down, and Atlanta takes over on the 10. Chris Redmond, who has come in for Matt Ryan. Here's Snelling cutting inside, and Snelling gets to the 7. Black on the tackle with a gain of 3, and under 6 minutes to go, and Robinson telling Mike Smith what transpired.
He's trying to plead his case. He's saying, Coach, he was bigger than me. He hit me. But at a certain point, you got to start thinking about next week. And everyone being all hands on deck, it's going to take for the Atlanta Falcons. It's going to take a lot of things coming together for them to make a run But as I said earlier, the Packers provided inspiration, showed that a 6 seed can go do this in the NFL.
And the Giants as well when they won the Super Bowl. Here is Snelling slowed up and gets back to the line of scrimmage. Maybe a gain of 1 as we near 5 minutes to go. And if the Falcons go on and win this game, this is the way the wild card matchups will be next week. It'll be the Lions at the Saints and the Falcons at the winner of the Cowboys-Giants game, which we played tonight. In week 13, the Saints beat the Lions 31-17. And the Falcons, well, obviously would much rather play the Giants or the Cowboys. Snelling getting down to the 2. Foster on the tackle.
The interesting thing, Dick, about Detroit going down to New Orleans, as we saw today, the Detroit Lions, and we've seen throughout the season, they can put up points with anyone. I think that defense has been a big disappointment to me. To me, they've got the makings of a dominant group up front, but they're giving up 480 yards passing, 6 touchdowns to a backup quarterback in Matt Flynn. That's not good enough, and it won't be in the playoffs.
Matt Bryant will try a 20-yard field goal. And it is now 45-24 in favor of the Atlanta Falcons. Tampa Bay will finish with 10 consecutive losses after starting at 4-2. Arthur Blank, the Falcons owner, congratulating his team. And we would like to congratulate someone, our broadcast associate, Eric Mandia, who got engaged this past week to Lindsay Disher. And we wish them both great success. Eric Mandia, our broadcast associate, and none better. Preston Parker downs it in the end zone. They'll take it out at the 20. And Fox's football coverage won't end when the games are over. Afterwards, stick around for the OT, where Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy bring you extended highlights, expert analysis, exclusive interviews, and a look ahead to next weekend's playoff games. America's #1 post-game show, the OT, presented by Lowe's, is coming up after the game only on Fox. Freeman started the game with 2 interceptions, has thrown 2 touchdowns since then. Just under 4 minutes to go, 45-24. And an incomplete pass. Kurt Menefee. Bring us up to date, Kurt.
Well, the Baltimore Ravens with a win will clinch the AFC North and the #2 seed. Ray Rice, 70-yard touchdown run earlier. This is a 51-yarder. Puts a little distance between themselves and the Bengals. 24-16 right now. Baltimore trying to close it out and get that #2 spot. John and Dick.
All right, the Ravens, who beat the Steelers twice this year. Not an easy thing to do, headed for the #2 seed. 2nd down and 10. Dante Robinson out of the game, and he was replaced by Darren Walls. Going high for the catch is Desmond Briscoe. Dakud on the tackle, picking up 9. Third down and 1. And LeGarrette Blount, or Josh Freeman, with the carry. So where do you start? What's the blueprint for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, whether Raheem Morris is there or not?
Well, as bad as it's been, Dick, and they're likely going to end this season with 10 straight losses. I think they're closer than people think they are. So whether Raheem's back or someone else is back, what they have, they've got a franchise quarterback in my mind. Other people may differ. I think this guy's a stud at the quarterback position. And then your buddy Ernie Corsi, Dick, he always says you got to have the quarterback and you got to have guys to knock down the quarterback. And you look, health becomes an issue there, but Gerald McCoy, Brian Price, both guys that have struggled with injuries, guys they've recently drafted, Adrian Claiborne, put together a strong rookie campaign. You've got Daquan Bowers, Michael Bennett. They've got those kind of guys. Now they need a lot of things, and they need to build around that franchise quarterback, and they need to help him out. They need speed at the wide receiver, but more than anything, I think leadership. You're looking at a team this year, and I think where they went wrong, they cut 2 of their captains from last year. They let them go. Barrett Ruud went on to Tennessee. Cadillac Williams went on to St. Louis, and I don't think you can discount that. The necessity for leadership in a locker room, because you saw when things went bad, there was no one to step up and put an end to that, and the lack of leadership has showed itself for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
The injured player on the field was Parade Jerry for the Falcons. What about Raheem Morris?
Well, you know, Raheem's a guy I think very fondly of. He helped me win a Super Bowl. He was in our defensive back room there. I think he's got a ton of energy. This is a young team. The Glazers have a tough decision to make, whether he's the guy to fix it or whether they need to go change, and only the Glazers can answer that.
First down, and the catch made out of the backfield by Moses Madu, with Atkins making the tackle, and for Raheem Morris. And he said, look, I'm not going to fire myself, and he shouldn't. But 10-6 last year, so he has done it. He has something, a notch on his belt.
Second in the Coach of the Year balloting to Bill Belichick last year, but just a disastrous season this year. And Raheem, he ought to go in there and fight for this job and tell the Glazer family how he's going to get the Buccaneers back on the map and back winning.
Freeman gets the first down and pushed out of bounds by Franks. And a gain of 12 yards. Started out as a 42-0 game for Atlanta. Tampa Bay has come back, but the Falcons steady. 2-minute warning here at the Georgia Dome, with the Falcons headed for the playoffs as the number 5 seed. Well, in this final regular season game, we want to thank our technical and production crew, enthusiastic, perfectionists. They performed beautifully all year. We're proud of them. And the people in the television truck who had a big role for us. Madu is the running back, and this pass is going to be ruled incomplete. Today's game and our season produced by Pete Macheska and directed by Greg Scopatoni. The associate director today, Neil Gallo, and the broadcast associate, as we've already mentioned, Eric Mandia. Technical producer is Joe Stevens, and a great crew he had this year. The studio was produced by Bill Richards and directed by Bob Levy, and I know that you share my thanks with this crew.
This crew has been awesome all year. And you put it like this, we're at playoff time, you send this crew to the playoff, we would do some damage.
Said by a true competitor, as you are. And the pass picked off by Darren Walls, and Walls still on his feet and knocked down. Walls, who replaced Dante Robinson. The ball was tipped by Thomas Deku, and a 23-yard return. And the Falcons will finish on a blaze of glory after the Buccaneers scored 24 straight points.
You know, it's interesting. I was talking with some of the Atlanta coaches at practice the other day, and they said this Darren Walls is a guy we really like. Well, sure enough, what coaches see in practice tends to translate to the game. This is a guy out of Notre Dame. They like him a lot, and he gets in the game and he makes good things happen.
You know who else is out of Notre Dame? Rick Odioso, our statistician, and a great job done by him and Bill Garrity, our spotter, in his first year with us, and superb performance by him. Doesn't have to go far, lives in Atlanta to get home. And it's been a joyful year, and it's been a total joy for me working with you, John Lynch. It has been one of the more satisfying years I've ever spent in a broadcast booth.
Well, it's been awesome. The opportunity to work with the legend, guy I listened to growing up, Celtics, Lakers, been just a treat, and look forward to more next year.
You were about 4 or 5, right? The first time you happened to hear one of our broadcasts. Josh Freeman, 32 of 46 are his final numbers: 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Hard to believe, last year 25 TDs and only 6 picks. And he went the other way big time this year.
And I think the most important thing for this organization, above even a head coach, get that guy. Put the talent around him so he can succeed. This league is a quarterback-driven league right now. I believe you've got a stud in that guy. Surround him with great talent.
And how about this division? We saw what Cam Newton did with Carolina. You know, they're coming up big time, and you have Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay with Freeman.
You talk about some quarterback play. The emergence of Cam Newton, Josh Freeman, Matt Ryan, and of course the great Drew Brees. We just saw Julio Jones. I promise you, he's going to announce his presence in the playoffs. Fun player to watch grow.
That'll probably do it, and the Falcons will be playing the Giants or the Cowboys. Any thoughts about that matchup? It'll be on the road.
Fun one to watch tonight. I'm telling you, I think the Giants, if they can get healthy, they can beat the Cowboys tonight. That's a team that could do some damage in the playoffs. I like these Falcons going in. This was an important step to play well today. They did it.
And they won't have to go against the Saints, who beat them twice in the regular season. So the Atlanta Falcons defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They go 10-6 on the year. And for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they finish at 4-12. The final score 45-24. And we'll return to Atlanta to wrap up today's game after these messages.